if I would have allowed the things people said to define me, calling me stupid, calling me, I don't even know, talking behind my back, uh, just betraying me. If I would let that define who I am as a person, I would be like a crumb of a woman. I would be, I would be broken. But you can't allow yourself to be broken. You ever heard of that saying, do not allow your will to be broken? Like, don't allow somebody to make you lose your morals or allow a thing to make you lose your morals. It's that same concept. Don't allow anything to make you lose your sense of self. Don't allow it. Your sense of self is so very important. You know, because every situation, again, is not going to be ideal, but we have to know how to navigate. Let me tell you how good God is. I was in a situation for a lot of years, and some of it was good, some of it wasn't. And I kept saying to myself, God has me on a journey. Like many times, He sent these people in the Bible out into the wilderness, out into the desert, and they wandered for years. And that's how I felt. I was learning, I was gaining knowledge, but some parts of my life were they just weren't up to par to what I thought. But there was a plan in that too. It was things I needed to learn. Because in that misery, I learned how to still hold myself up, still find a way to overcome. And now I sit a stronger woman that can go against a wave, and I'm still here. I'm here gracefully. And that's where you have to get to. Is you have to get to that point where you're like a rock being hit by the waves. Because I think there's a thing where, a stone, it gets hit a rock gets hit so many times, and it can either crumble or it could turn into a beautiful stone. No, that's what happened. It turned into a beautiful stone with the applied pressure. With the applied pressure, something turns into a beautiful stone. So even when pressure is applied to us, if we understand how to navigate through that, we will come out of this more beautiful. We'll come out on the other side much more experienced, much more learned, just in a whole new, better place with a different outlook, with a different perspective. So that's why even pain is important. Everything in life is important. It's teaching you. Don't let your pain be in vain. Don't let your pain be in vain. Say, even though this isn't comfortable for me, what am I to learn in these moments? What is the teachable moment in these unpleasurable times? There's always a lesson. There's always something to be learned. And then on the flip side of it, once I spent my time in this place, on the other side, coming out of that side, boy, I'm like a flower that's bloomed. I'm at such peace, at such a good place in my life. Not necessarily because of my surroundings or my situation, but because of my perspective. But it took each of these things, good and not so good, to help me find my footing now, today, as we speak, as I speak. And that's why I have to tell people to just hold on. Never forget the promise of tomorrow and what it brings, a different outlook. So when you're on the edge and you almost want to give up, remember tomorrow is not promised, but you shouldn't make that choice to give up. And tomorrow can be better than your experience of today's present. Oh man, praise God. Praise God. You know, I came out of the situation and I blossomed. And I sit here and I think about all the people who didn't give themselves a chance. I think about all the people who, because they allowed somebody to define them, because they allowed a situation to define them, they didn't make it. They're not here to speak. And that's unfortunate. So we have to spread this message of definition. Names are important. Definitions are important. Understanding the meaning of things. And again, if I would allow those people, think about if I would allow every time somebody considered me dumb or considered me ugly, which that doesn't happen a lot. But if I fed into that, where would I be? I'm saying this over and over because I want it to sink in. Because some of you out there are going through something where your situation is telling you you don't matter. Look at all these black people dying. This world, this society is telling you you don't matter. But if we feed into that dialogue, we won't have the people who are going out there to protest, who are still trying to help in the community to spread awareness. We still need that love. So we have to keep that hope. We have to keep that positivity alive. Even in the midst of hell, we have to build a heaven for those of us who are trying to contribute something positive to our communities, to this world, to this society as a whole. We have to. We have to do that. Because the world will tell you who you are. If I took who the world said I was, I would say as a black woman, I am not important. As a black person, I am not important. As a woman, I am not important. I deserve to be paid less. I don't deserve to be protected. You see what I'm saying? You cannot let the world define you. I deserve all the goodness. You deserve all the goodness that there is to offer. We deserve abundance. I truly believe that it's out there. I truly believe that goodness is out there. We have to be aware. It's important also the words that you use to define yourself. You know, if someone's calling you a name, don't you go and call yourself that name too. Still uplift yourself. You know, come up with your own mantra, like in that movie The Help. Say, I am smart. I am beautiful. I am wise. Say something until it seeks into your subconscious, until it becomes one with you. But if you constantly tell yourself, I am not worth much, I am not important, I don't deserve, that's what you will attract to you. And I've been guilty of saying, hey, you know, sometimes I can be positive and I still feel like on some ends I get the short stick. But perhaps there is still a lesson that needs to be learned. Perhaps those seeds are still being sowed. They're growing. And sometimes you don't realize that until you're on the other side, what those miserable those so-called miserable moments were doing for you. So give yourself time to see the lesson as well. Because sometimes when the teacher's teaching, it's like we can't see the forest for the trees. We can't understand the lesson because we're looking at each problem. You see what I'm saying? You're concentrating on the problem and not seeing the whole picture. So what it's gonna start with is loving yourself and understanding that everyone doesn't, I don't want to say come from, but everyone is not trying to be a positive light to the world. You know, we have some people whose light is very dim, it's flickering. We have some energy vampires out there. And when we get around those people, when you're a person of light, you can pray, you can meditate, you can say, you know, I want to be protected, white light protection around me. Protect yourself from those bad energies. Do whatever you got to do to put yourself in that good space to be okay, to be fine. Build that personal relationship with God. Get yourself there on one accord, mentally and spiritually. Because that's what you need when you're walking into these places and you have all these things against you. You got to build up that armor. And because I'm a Christian, I like to say, I go in and I wear my armor of Christ. I wear that armor to be protected. You're going to keep saying those mantras. You're going to keep building yourself up. And I'm not talking about being arrogant or cocky. I'm talking about natural confidence. You want to balance your ego. The more we balance our ego, the closer to God we get. I'll make a separate video about that. I love you guys. Please do me a favor and do not let your situation or other people define who you are. You be the best person you can be. Stay in the fight. Stay in the game. You aren't alone. I love you. Be good. No, be well.